Is Disney California Adventure gonna stay California Adventure, or will it get a complete re-theme by Disney Parks? A lot of folks have been wondering this. My comment section on socials is filled with this question, and I think for good reason, because Disneyland just told us some huge changes coming to the resort. Not only where the location of the Avatar experience and Coco rides will be, but also that Mike and Sully to the Rescue, the Monsters Inc. attraction, is permanently closing at Disney California Adventure. So a lot of changes are happening in that park, but not just that park, all around the resort that kind of make people wonder, are we reading the tea leaves here? Is California Adventure gonna change its name? And what else should we know about these experiences? So I'm gonna break everything down for you, talk about where these attractions are going, what they might look like, what changes have been made. So I'm David Vaughn, your friend who's maybe a little too obsessed with theme parks, but hey, I'm gonna use this obsession for good today by breaking down the latest Disney Parks blog post about the Disneyland Resort, getting into the nitty-gritty of it, and really telling you and maybe answering the question, what are we gonna see for the future of Disney California Adventure? Let's get right into it. I'm gonna do a little bit different. I'm actually gonna read this blog post backward because I think it tells a better story. So let's talk about first the Avatar experience coming to Disney California Adventure. It says, additionally, we're looking forward to transforming a portion of the current Hollywood backlot area into our Avatar destination at Disney California Adventure. This project is still in the early stages of development, and additional details will be shared at a later date, including construction timeframes. To make way for this new experience, Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue will close early 2026. So yeah, the ride is closing for good. This is gonna be your last year to really ride it before it closes. But what does that mean? Where is this Avatar experience gonna go? A lot of folks assumed it was gonna go in Grizzly Peak, maybe just because there's like trees and stuff, but I always thought that's not gonna happen. It's too close to the Grand Californian. It doesn't make sense to plop that in the middle of the park. And what are you gonna do? Like look outside your window from the Grand Californian into Avatar? Like that never made sense to me. And then also in addition, some people thought maybe this would go by the Disneyland Hotel as they just tried to push Disneyland Forward, which is Disneyland's expansion project, out toward the Simba parking lot. And I thought maybe it's a little too early for that. I had heard some things that the potential things that we are going to see this in Hollywoodland, which means that this is what it's going to look like. We're going to see the Monsters Inc. close. We're going to see probably Stage 17, which is, they used to have that Avengers Superstore there, close. And parts of this Hollywood backlot will close. So I don't know if the stage area will be affected. I'm not entirely sure how much of this will close. My guess is quite a bit of it, if not all of it. And then we're gonna see push back into where a lot of folks are actually entering, where that bus loop is. But I'm looking at this concept art and I'm wondering, is this as big as it was originally intended to be? Because when we look at the second wave, I think it was second wave, maybe third wave concept art for this land, check it out. This is a lot bigger looking than the other concept art that Disneyland just released. Look, it is possible that we'll see tariffs have an impact on construction as costs are projected to go up. If they have not ordered all of the materials for this, we're knowing that if anything is being exported, if it's the cheapest way to export things, which is typically even if you're talking about wood, then yeah, you're gonna see that impact how much this budget needs to go. But if you're saying, okay, this project's was gonna cost us $600 million and now it's gonna cost us $900 million, so now what has to happen? Well, we need to get it. Maybe there was a second attraction plan, no longer happening. Maybe they were gonna add a couple restaurants, now it's just one. Maybe they scaled back the attraction. We know that there's gonna be a type of boat ride looking thing. We can see it here actually in this concept art if we zoom in. And it is still doing the thing where it goes outside. The boat looks a little different. I don't know if that's just the concept art. I'm not entirely sure because before we thought it was gonna be the ride from Pirates Shanghai based on that boat. And that ride is amazing. It's like Star Wars Rise of the Resistance meets Pirates of the Caribbean. The boat moves in all sorts of different directions. It would be an incredible addition to Disney California Adventure. One of the top Disney rides ever. Why Mike and Sully the Rescue closing? Why, there's only so many family-friendly rides at Disney California Adventure. We know Disney California Adventure tends to skew more adult, which makes sense. You have different needs. It's kind of like Epcot, right? Yes, Epcot has stuff for kids, but I think that's why we see different experiences, more thrilling rides. It's always been But then I wonder, as I look at this concept art and I see young kids, like if you think about it, these kids in this concept art haven't even been born yet, probably, because the attraction's not going to be available for several years. So are they going to release like a cartoon show to appeal to younger kids? Why are they shown here? There's a reason. It does make me wonder, as we're seeing Avatar plop into California Adventure, what is the explanation from going to Hollywoodland? Because it seems like they're going to keep the Hyperion Theater, since they haven't mentioned that closing at all or being demolished at all. But right now, it seems we're getting maybe potentially a scaled back, smaller version of this Avatar experience. And another thing I'm hearing a lot is people are saying, especially the hardcore Disney parks fans are saying, we don't actually want Avatar. They're saying that they prefer Monsters, Inc. This is not something they asked for. But we're seeing other attractions getting added that are more in line with core Disney parks and also more family friendly than we're seeing with Avatar. Even though I think anybody can enjoy Avatar, they're showing kids walking around it with families. I think that they're trying to make it look like this is something for everybody. But there's still a pushback from fans saying this isn't something that we actually wanted. So if Disney's going to have to create some experiences in here that wow kids, that make them want to go see it. But I think that's not the point. I think the point is Disney Parks wants to expand, and they have said if we're going to expand, then we need more visitors in them. And if we need more visitors in them, we need to reach people who like things that we own but aren't necessarily visiting the parks. And I think that's why we're seeing a doubling in size of Avengers Campus, and that's also why we're seeing Avatar getting added, because they want people coming in and being excited for Disney California Adventure. Maybe Disney California Adventure is the park that they prefer over Disneyland if they're not so inclined to want to visit Disneyland for what it currently offers. So it does make sense. In my head, I think we have such a huge demand for people wanting to visit these parks. We have such a huge demand of people wanting to get Magic Keys and be inside these parks. Why not just create more experiences and more space for them? And then we could potentially have more Magic Key holders, potentially have more locals and stuff who want to keep visiting these parks. But if Disneyland is planning to transform more into like a resort, adding more hotels and things like that, then yeah, they're going to need people from out of Southern California to visit this resort and want to stay there. So if that is the future of Disneyland, then it makes sense they're going to have all of these things, because even foreign tourists, they don't have Avatar at the Asia parks. They don't have it anywhere outside of the US really, especially not on this scale. So this is going to be a huge pull for people wanting to visit there, just like going to Super Nintendo World was for a while in Universal Studios Japan. This is going to maybe potentially be a pull, especially since this is a worldwide global box office smash hit, making billions of dollars, Avatar. So we'll have to wait and see. The question comes in my head though, how is Avatar going to be explained from going from Hollywood to Pandora? Like how is that going to be explained? Are we going to be tapping into the, space launch programs that we see in Central California? But then this is Hollywoodland. So are we just stepping into a movie set? It doesn't seem that's the point. It seems like you're supposed to be there. So how is Disneyland going to explain this to us? Are they going to explain this to us? Or are we just going to see it not be California Adventure anymore? We're not supposed to be in California Adventure. Maybe we're going to explore Disney stories. Maybe it's going to be Disney story adventures. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, that is something that I've been wondering, and depending on how Disney explains it. And I didn't want to touch on this quick too. I do see, and I've always said this too, like, Disney California Adventure has always been a fictionalized version of California. Avengers Campus in there is a fictionalized version, and before that it was Bugs Land, which doesn't make sense for California per se, but people just kind of believed it then. They didn't question it then, but when they put Avengers in, they were like, whoa, 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 what? And it's like, well, all of this was a fictionalized version of California. So how do you make Avatar a fictionalized version of California? That is a big question mark, and even if, I think however they do it, they have to make it believable to the public. That is the biggest piece. So people have to, I feel like you can say this and make this excuse and say stuff that makes sense on paper, but if the average visitor visiting looks at it and go, why is this California Adventure? And you have to explain it with nuance, it's going to be lost. So it's going to have to be a direct, clear message to make this believable and be the best storytelling that it can be. So to talk about how Avatar is going to fit into California Adventure, we need to talk about how the entrance, really it's like the eastern entrance into Disneyland, so the one that you would go off of Harbor, how is that going to transform to make it make sense for Avatar to go where it's supposed to go, like I was showing before. So as it says here, plans are underway for new parking structure and transportation hub that will be built on the east side of the Disneyland Resort, a portion of what is currently the Manchester cast member parking lot. This new area will provide approximately 6,000 parking spaces, shuttle and rideshare areas, security screening, and dedicated access for traffic off of Disney Way, improving parking and traffic flow throughout the resort area. Which makes a lot of sense because if people are coming from south in San Diego and they're driving up there, they have to go all the way around to either the parking structures or go down toward Toy Story, which kind of creates a lot of congestion. In addition, we know that Disneyland has plans for the Toy Story parking lot to not always be there because it's been approved for attractions, experiences, shopping, and even hotels. So if they plan to do more with that, they need to build this parking structure first, and this is going to house all of those cars that currently park in that structure. It doesn't make sense to have, well, not structure, parking lot. It doesn't make sense to have parking lots in California when you have Southern California, when you have such limited space and they're trying to build more attractions. You just can't have a big open parking lot the size of California Adventure. You have to fit people into more compact spaces like parking garages like we see with Mickey and Friends. So we don't know the theme of this parking structure. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. But as you can see from this artist concept rendering above, this is a new parking and transportation hub will feature a pedestrian bridge. So you can see there'll be a walkway that will cross over Harbor Boulevard, leading to an all-new Esplanade arrival experience. So the Esplanade that we know, and that's the space between Disney California Adventure and Disneyland, is going to transform. We'll still be able to enter both parks from there from when it seems. But if you look at some of this concept art, you can see that it just looks different. The monorail route looks pretty much the same. We're still seeing the same loop. It doesn't seem like they're going to create like a new stop there or anything, but it does look like we're going to have a walkway that goes straight over a sign. So you'll be able to walk in from Harbor Boulevard still. So if you're staying at a neighboring hotel, you can still walk in. But there will be new security there, all revamped, as well as that central area will look completely different. Makes me feel like maybe some of those bricks will probably get removed, or all of them eventually in time. And this pedestrian bridge will also provide a convenient public access to and from Harbor Boulevard. So like I was saying, you'll be able to walk over there. So if you are taking a Lyft or an Uber into the resort, it's supposed to drop you off there. They'll have a security screening probably up there, and then you just walk across that bridge right into the resort. And if you can kind of see off in this corner here, it's kind of like dark. They're not letting us really see what this looks like. But my guess is this is going to be the show building for the Avatar ride, and the Avatar experience is going to bump into there. So all of the buses and everything are going to be dropped off in a different area. So this says spaces for shuttles and things like that. So my guess is that maybe the art buses might have a different drop off. If it's not going to be up in the structure, it'll be somewhere else. But you'll be able to get dropped off there, get through security, probably at the structure, and then go across that bridge. So everything's going to be a central hub over there for that. And like I said, I think all of this is to prep for the closure of the Toy Story parking lot, which is very far removed. So you don't have to go all the way across the resort to get to the parks, which is good news for a lot of folks. And then they can maybe announce some things coming to that lot over there. But this is all super interesting to me that they're planning all of this and transforming all of this. And I wonder if we're going to see changes of shops. Are we going to see additional shops? Because like, how cool would it be if you could kind of go to it? I mean, I know World of Disney is over there, but how cool would it be if there was another shop over there as you leave to go back to the structure to maybe pick up some last minute items? I like walking through downtown Disney sometimes that way, and just walking through World of Disney at the end of my day and seeing if I want to pick up anything. But now the folks going back south or who parked in that structure might want to go to some store over there. So we'll have to see if anything like that is planned, but it says these enhanced transit and arrival offerings are the first step of our next phase of construction, creating the infrastructure necessary to prepare for future growth. So like I was saying with the Toy Story parking lot, and this is the multi-year construction for this new arrival experience is slated to begin fall 2026. So we're not going to see any construction on this parking garage or this pedestrian bridge or anything like that until fall 2026. So let's talk about the Coco attraction coming to Disney California Adventure and where that's supposed to be located. So as we continue to add new experiences to Disney California Adventure, we're excited to share that the upcoming attraction themed to Pixar Animation Studios Coco will be built near Paradise Gardens Park and Pixar Pier in the areas that are predominantly backstage today. Construction on this attraction is set to begin backstage this fall. So fall 2025, we're going to see construction begin on the Coco experiences. It makes sense. And let me show you where this is. So right now we're looking at this piece that shows the front. Now people are kind of assume that this is maybe where Boardwalk Pizza is, and that this is going to go over there, and that we're going to see maybe, and let me show you a map here, maybe we're going to see Paradise Gardens Park and this area over here get transformed into the Coco ride. But actually, this is not really enough space for something like that. I think what we're actually seeing here is this gateway that the parade route goes through Disney California Adventure, because we're seeing this side of the Incredicoaster. So my guess is, because you can't really view that if you're looking this way. So my guess is this is actually that big thing that says Pixar Pier, and that you'll enter to go to the ride, walk down here behind the coaster, and then here, where people don't even realize, is a pad where they keep it. I mean, there's cast member areas, but also where they keep a lot of the parade floats, from my understanding. So I think we're gonna see this is actually gonna be where the Coco ride goes. And if you're wondering about scope and scale, this is Toy Story Mania right here next to it. So we're going to see the Coco ride over there. So there'll be an entrance. I don't know where the exit will be. This isn't too far of a walk to go down there anyway. So I think this is going to hold the cue for that Coco ride. So this backstage this fall, they're going to start building that ride. So my guess is the Avengers rides will open first, and then we're going to get the Coco ride, and then we're going to get the Avatar experience in that order. But the big question that I have is, well, I have a couple questions. First, I think that this is going to extend part of Pixar Pier. So we're going to see Pixar Pier go into this area that's now a Coco attraction. But then also it makes me wonder, what about the rest of Disney California Adventure? Are we going to see where Boardwalk Pizza is and Paradise Gardens Park? Is that all going to be transformed into sort of a Mexico area? Because this looks kind of limited. Like you're just going to have a part of Mexico pop up there. Now, I know with Pixar Pier, there's different neighborhoods. So you have Inside Out headquarters, you have Toy Story, I think Promenade, I can't remember, or Boardwalk, I can't remember the exact name for that one. But they have all of these different neighborhoods, Incredibles Park, in that area that build up that storyline. What we're not seeing with this is this going to be like Coco something as part of a neighborhood? Is that, or is this going to be its own separate land, or even maybe mini land within that area? Are we going to see a restaurant there? How is this going to transform? It seems like a missed opportunity to not have a restaurant there, right? But then you have all those other attractions there. You have the Golden Zephyr, you have the Silly Symphony Swing. So is that going to be tied in? We see Miguel here playing in front. So it looks like there will be some representation of characters. But if we are getting a transformation of this area, even though Southern California is heavily influenced in so many areas by Mexico, how does it make sense to have something that looks very distinctly Mexico in California Adventure without changing the theme? So on top of having the Avatar experience, on top of having some of the Hollywood backlot go away, we're also going to have Mexico and additions to Avengers Campus. Are guests going to believe this is still California? And even a fictionalized version, because some of it's becoming a stretch. So will we think that Disneyland will change the name and retheme California Adventure for this? It's possible. It's possible we'll see a new beacon, a call to this, especially as they're planning to go with Disneyland Forward and make new experiences that go even beyond this area and go out toward the Disneyland Hotel. So it's possible we might see California Adventure no longer be California Adventure. And Personally, I would be okay with it. I think that it would be fine if they rethemed this. And maybe they don't retheme it right away. Maybe they'll open all of these because they're saying they're going to add these to Disney California Adventure. They're not making it seem like they're not. But maybe eventually, as the new expansions come, they're going to be like, this was not the overall plan. We don't want to have to continuously justify that California is where all these are located. Let's just make it a new park. In the same way that Paris is doing with its Walt Disney Studios park is now going to be called Disney Adventure World. Personally, I don't think that it's going to happen soon. I think it'll might be something that we see 10 years out, get a rethemed name, and it would have to be something because still there's so much California influence. I don't think they're going to change the entrance with Buena Vista Street unless there's something they can kind of quickly do. But they just did that in 2012. So are we going to spend a ton of money and inconvenience guests walking through that area again just to have a more congruent look? There's not a lot of big attractions there, and they have to do a lot of reworking and spend a lot of money for that. So at this point, I don't think it makes sense financially for them to retheme or rename it California Adventure, but give us a really good reason of how we're going from Hollywoodland into an Avatar experience. Give us a really good reason why Coco makes sense as part of Pixar Pier or anywhere in Disney California Adventure. Just tie everything in as quickly and as best as possible to tell the overall story. But I want to know, what are your thoughts about this expansion coming to the Disneyland Resort? Do you think all of this makes sense for California Adventure, or would you like to see a name change? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe. I'd love if you did. I'm David Vaughn. I really appreciate you watching, and I can't wait to talk more Disneyland stuff with you next time.